So one of the things that a lot of people are kind of a little confused about when they first talk about WordPress is there's two very similar websites that you can go to get WordPress, but they're a little different as well. So let's take a look at these two sites and let you know what you're getting. So the first I have here is WordPress.com. And then on another tab over here, I have WordPress.org. Now, these two look very differently. You might say, well, why was there a WordPress.com and a WordPress.org? Isn't that confusing? And yes, it can be a little confusing, especially if you're just starting out. But as you get to know a little bit more and understand it, you'll understand why there's two different websites. Now, in reality, both WordPress.org as well as WordPress.com are actually all built around and using the same software, WordPress. They're actually both managed by a company called Automatic. Now, WordPress is actually free, so how does Automatic make their money to continue doing developmental support? Well, that's done through this website here, WordPress.com. WordPress.com is actually a way that you can host your WordPress site, and it's a very simple way to go in and do it. You can scroll down here, you can see a lot of different things that WordPress has done and some different ways that you can create your site and just look at it. But if you scroll down to the bottom, you're going to see that they have 4 different plans. Now, technically they have a fifth. They have a free plan, which is kind of small and off to the side, and you can get a free WordPress website hosted for you and costing you absolutely nothing. And that's really nice if you think about it. Then if you look, you have 4 paid plans by default. And each one adds some additional features and functionality. You can see things that have a little green check mark is a feature that you get. If it's X'd out or grayed out, you don't get that feature. In doing so, what they've done is you can get some really basic functionality with your free site. And then as you pay for it, you get more and more functionality. This is very common on a lot of things on the web where you have a freemium type of service where you start off free and then you transition into paid services. And $4 a month for a website is not that bad. Even $20 a month for a business website really isn't that bad, to be honest with you. So that's a really simple process, and you can kind of see some of the functionalities you have. So you might go, well, why would I have different types of limitations and different price structures? Well, as I mentioned, you get different features and functionality. And one of the big things is what types of themes and plugins are you allowed to use? You see, because they're hosting it, the makers of WordPress, Automatic, has gone in and said there are certain plugins that we don't trust on our site. Maybe they take too much processing resource, or maybe the theme is too big because it has too many images. It's going to slow it down. So we're not going to let you have that theme or let you have that plugin. In some cases, you can't add anything but from a very small set. And as you add things, then you can have uploaded videos, or you can have more plugins and more themes that are available to you. Each one adds functionality until you get to what you want. Now, there are still some things that you cannot do with those. And so you might say, well, what happens in a case like that? Well, there's 2 options. One is we can come down to their VIP service. And their VIP service is where they host for large corporations. You want to know how large? Well, these are used for holding websites for companies like Disney, NBC, CBS, those types of companies, where you're going to get thousands and thousands of users a day. So this is not just your standard type of, everyday website. This is going to be a very busy website. What does that mean? Well, it means it's going to cost you a lot more. They start at about $1,700 a month. Now, if you're a company like that, that's probably not that bad of a deal. For you and I, probably not a good deal. So we have that as an option, though. So we can look at one of their paid options, or we can look at their VIP service. But you might go, well, what happens if I just want to learn and I need to learn and work on things? Well, if you want the most flexibility, you want to go to WordPress.org. You might say, well, why? Why does WordPress.org allow me more flexibility? Well, with WordPress.org, you can download the software yourself and install it on your own server. So that means you can install it on your own machine if you want to. You can set up a web server on your machine using a tool like WAMP, or maybe you have a web service already built in, and you can run it from there. And now you can test and configure and try things out, and it's very, very simple. So it gives you an automatic way to start working on that process. Or you can take it to a different host where you're going to be allowed to have as much freedom and flexibility with the plugins and themes that you pick. So depending upon what you want to do, this gives you some functionality and features that you may not get elsewhere. So you might say, well, what are the pros and cons? Why would I pick one? Well, the big thing is going to be, what are you trying to do? So if you don't want to have to manage servers and deal with hosting companies and installing software, WordPress.com might be a good option for you. Well, if you want to have more flexibility and control of your website, WordPress.org might be better because you're going to have to do everything, but you're going to have all that control as well. So you'll have to be a little bit more technical, but as you see when we do the install, it's not bad at all. But you'll be also responsible for any downsides that you might run into. So it's just little things like that that you got to be careful of. Not a big deal for most people. And I've shown non-technical people how to set up a WordPress website on their own all very quickly. In fact, the install takes less than 5 minutes. And it's a web-based install in most cases. So which you pick is just kind of depending upon where you're going and do you already have hosting somewhere, etc. like that.